Okay, day 92, version 3, Braverman, Haiti, and me. If you haven't followed the story before, it's the story of Eric Braverman coming down to Haiti with me to find out how that 6.7 or $7.1 billion was spent in Haiti. In the last episode, I explained how Hillary used this army to, in previous episodes, topple Libya and Syria. I also explained how you could actually use a controlled nuclear explosion called a peaceful nuclear explosion, or PNE, to do a lot of the work you'd normally have to do in an invasion. If you can do an underground explosion deep enough and collapse a lot of the buildings, that does a lot of the work you need to do in an invasion. Normally you have to send in the guys like this, Delta Force, General Grange here, to go in and cut power lines, knock down trees in front of roads, blow up bridges, blow up water supplies, blow up railroad lines and so forth. That's all done for you basically with an earthquake if you think about it. So if you think that the Department of Defense didn't research that for that exact purpose, then you might be right, you might be wrong. So I'm exploring the part of this that has been known in the oil business for quite some time. The USSR used PNEs or peaceful nuclear explosions a long time, quite regularly for oil and gas. So you can. That's why I've always said the oil and arms go together, because these things kind of serve a dual purpose. And the fact that you have the State Department deciding who and who doesn't get a chance to explode the nuclear weapons is also very important, like in the case of Pakistan or India, which Hillary was involved in. But I wanted to distinguish between Delta Force like here versus what I mentioned with the fusion team that went in, not the fusion team, I'm blanking on their name right now, but the kind of the red team, Rubicon, Team Rubicon, and then DynCorp, because it's three separate things. It's topple with Osprey and Grange here. Then there's an in-between step here that I didn't have before, and I should put it in there, which is going to be Rubicon, Team Rubicon. And then you're going to have the police phase. This topple phase is taking out the Air Force and the tanks and the fixed military. That the Team Rubicon is going to be taking out your political enemies while they're still, while everything's still, all the communications are down and so forth, all the media is down. That's your time when you have a window to eliminate as many political enemies as possible. And then this third phase is going to be more your oil and gas phase, which is, DynCorp's really an oil and gas, and mining police. Is basically what they are. So, so this first phase, I want to say this. Here's Bill Swing with this immigration. What you do, as I mentioned before, like in Rwanda, you train your spies or your operatives or whatever you want to call them, informants over here, and you teach them how to basically tell the good guys from the bad guys. You teach them how to paint the houses and cars and clothes of the people that you want to get rid of once the invasion happens. Okay, so that they're the continuing force that's going to work with the police force, that's going to work with DynCorp. Okay, but what you do is you model. This is right out of the NSA, the Synapse model they call it, and you take the person and you add in all these data sources. Oh, here's his Facebook friends. Here's the people he calls on the phone. Here's the people he texts with. Here's the YouTube video he watches. And then you build out this model. And what you want to do, you can do it one of several ways. You can just get that person, or you can do the family, or you can do the family and friends, or you can do the friends of friends and so forth. And the model the NSA had that Snowden did, they went friends of friends of friends, which is a lot of people. Not for Haiti, but that's how far the metadata goes, the modeling goes, the friend of a friend analysis goes. So I mentioned Palantir on the last slide or in the last video. Palantir is a direct descendant of PRISM. It's written by the CIA and to do exactly what I just said. Take all those different data sources and link them up. You can see CIA links here to different things. And what you want to do, what we're going to do is we're going to constantly dust the battlefield. So we're going to track the movements of, we can not only track the movements of the people we want to kill, we can track the movements of our spies, our operatives as well. So by using different quantum dots. And I know this sounds a little Star Wars, but it's really true. And the Special Forces uses these little ones, these little cube satellites right here to do that. And you basically can have 5 or 6 different quantum dots on a person, and then it'll come up with, this is a terrorist, or this is a political operative, or this is a journalist, or this is a family member of the terrorist. And then what you have that comes out of that is what's called a disposition matrix. And it's the same disposition matrix that we had for the drone program. Here you can see the drone footage is one of the inputs to Palantir. And that's going to say, we're going to send the dad to the mines, we're going to send the woman to the sex shop, and we're going to send the kid to Colombia or wherever we're going to traffic the kid. I mean, or we're going to send, if he starts acting up at the mine, we're going to send his heart to, Duke or whatever place is doing a heart transplant. Okay. So again, first step is Osprey, where you have to take out the opposition's air force and tanks and infantry and so forth. Once you do take over, then you bring in a sniper team like this. And this is the Rubicon. This is Team Rubicon. And these are the Marine snipers that got brought in. This guy ended up committing suicide. But what you do on this, from satellite, you can see, okay, let's just see, these are the survivors. The earthquake killed 300,000 people in the first 50 seconds. But there's going to be a lot of people that you had marked with those dots. And I know this sounds macabre, but this is exactly how warfare was conducted by David Petraeus in Iraq and Afghanistan, using these dots. And you're going to do night operations on those. Some of them are going to be kidnappings in the cases of like political people and terrorists, real terrorists. But then for journalists, I mean, you just kill them because, all we do is put out truth. So that's not going to, we really don't have a network to speak of. It's more of a broadcast. So anyway, the Team Rubicon comes in next. These are, by the way, this is based exactly on Kissinger's red teams. If you remember the red teams from Chile and Argentina, it's exactly the same thing. Hasn't changed one bit. So you get rid of your political layer that's not killed, and then you bring in your third layer, which is you bring in your DynCorp. And DynCorp is going to just be your mining police and your oil police. I mean, there's a reason why the prison is up here by the oil drilling area. It's anybody who doesn't cooperate is going to go to prison, and then that's your supply of the real non-cooperatives. Get the Mirabile treatment. They get to be an organ donor, just like Korea, just like North Korea, and just like China. None of this is new. Oh, by the way, this is exactly the same model as South Africa, and this is how the heart transplant was developed, by using prisoners' hearts in South Africa. So this is, and you're going to find this same system in Sudan, Congo, Niger, Nigeria, et cetera, et cetera. Anywhere, Kosovo is another big one. Kosovo is another big one. Anywhere a DynCorp goes, you're going to find this 3-tier system. There's going to be the mining police, then there's going to be the prison, then there's going to be the organ donation. Oh, it's going on in Syria as well. I should have mentioned that. So in the previous, I'm sorry, I'm a little tired. I've been just researching around the clock. Previous versions of this, I've said, the real danger here is it's coming closer. It started in South Africa and China and North Korea, kind of moving through the African continent, kind of across the African continent. Now it's crossed the Atlantic over to Haiti again. Now it's going to be coming to the United States. It is already here in the United States. This quantum dots thing, being able to identify people and look at people from satellite, look at their house, look at their car, look at when they're walking and on the bike and so forth. Now there's still you still have on the ground teams that JTTF runs through informants, but this same technology is already in place. You're going to find the reason NORAD, the reason why Bouchard from NORAD, in NORAD is where this center is going to be, right out here in Denver is going to be, in Colorado, in the mountains, is going to be where they're tracking everybody. And he, the Canadian guy who ended up running the F-35 program and ran NATO, the same exact system was with the Gladio program in NATO, monitoring on-the-ground operations in NATO. So as I said, this mining police system has been just repeated over and over again. Congo, South Sudan, Chad here as well. I forgot Chad, Niger, Congo, of course. The other one is Nigeria. So keeps repeating. And where do we find Monica Petersen? She's at the mine. The last known communication, she's at the mine. So be interesting to see that thesis as we start getting more evidence. So this is the DynCorp. This isn't the Team Rubicon. And I shouldn't have said Team Rubicon was into organ harvesting, because they're not. They're there to get rid of the political prisoners and the irregulars, basically, what we would call ISIS. You know, if there's any remaining groups that are armed, they're going to be the ones taking out those groups. They're not going to be going after journalists or you know, political thinkers, but that's more of DynCorp's operation. So I apologize, by the way, to Team Rubicon for saying that, because I think I conflated the two when I started talking about DynCorp and Syria. That's a very specific team to get rid of resistance, the remaining resistance, a mop-up squad, sometimes they call it. So here you're going to see the marketing side of the heart business, and this is going to be Podesta. He's going to be a big salesman. When he sits down with a donor, he's going to say, hey, you know, you ever thought about eternal life? You're also going to have doctors involved in this, and I'm going to just tell you right now, this is going to sound unbelievable, but there's a doctor in New York as well that shares the name Eric Braverman with Eric Braverman. You're going to find out he is a very good friend of David Petraeus, and this hope of eternal life, or a way of changing your life, is going to be marketed through Eric Braverman. And eventually they get to this discussion, which is, now you're getting older, have you thought about your kidneys, have you thought about your heart, you know, et cetera. And don't you have enemies? And wouldn't it be great to know that your heart was coming from your enemies? You know, you're living off your enemies. That kind of is the sales pattern, you call it, that they're going to develop. But it starts out with eating right, you know, let's eat the right foods, and then, you know, well, blood transfusions. So Peter Thiel, way back where on Palantir, is very big into this idea of blood transfusions for the young. So that's kind of your transition from eating healthy, eating the right things, to super vitamins. Now we're going to go to blood transfusions. And, well, don't you have a lot of enemies, and wouldn't you like their heart? So again, this is all going to come out in the 650,000 emails, not the heart stuff. Oh, well, of course, one already did. It was in Hillary's emails. But you're going to see a few more of the heart things. If you search for Eric Braverman, I think it's Eric R. Braverman, the doctor, and that list of people on that heart list of the last slide, just Google Pam with Fleischker as the name and Podesta emails. You're going to get a lot of hits. There are going to be a lot of customers. You're also going to find he's very good friends with the Duchess of York, which is Prince. I'll get to it here. I got to go, Jeffrey. Here, Prince Andrew was also down on this island, and you're going to find the Duchess of York recruiting for kids, and you're also going to find her with Eric Braverman, the doctor, talking about eternal life and so forth, or good living, or you know, transfusion living, and then new organ living. So I'm just going to finish on this slide, which is, I've identified the link between Anthony Weiner and Israeli intelligence. It's going to be Ehud Barak. That's going to be the link where he's sending the information, and then they resold it to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia resold it to UAE and Qatar. So if I know that, I don't know why the Southern District Attorney of New York wouldn't know that. Literally right across the street almost at the New York NYPD is the chief, if he wants to go talk to him, to talk about the emails that say these are about child exploitation, sex crimes, perjury, obstruction of justice, money laundering, and pay to play. There's no way to save the U.S. government now unless all 650,000 of these emails is published, because the public will have no trust. There'll be no trust. If you ignore this, then how can the government move forward? How can Trump move forward? If the government of Israel, China, and Russia has these emails and Trump doesn't, or Trump has just been briefed in private, and we don't know what these other foreign governments know when these emails belong to the people of the United States, It's you need to at least release the metadata to show the people what the subject matter of the emails was if you have a state secrets defense. So again, the 1,100 hidden donors unlocks the whole thing. You're going to see it's the generals, it's the politicians, it's both for U.S. and European. That's it for today.